Hello and welcome to our special program To The Point. Today we have with us a special guest, Professor Vijay Bhatkar, who is an eminent scientist. He is a Param Shri awardee. He is also the creator of the first supercomputer of our country, that is Param 8000. In addition to this, there are several other hats which Professor Bhatkar has on his head. Let's go across to Professor Bhatkar. Sir, welcome to Rajya Sabha Television, and thank you for being with us. First and foremost thing which our viewers would like to know, and I myself would also like to know, is the journey to Param 8000 and Param 10,000. Though it has been, those supercomputers were created way back in 91 and 94, 95 if I'm not wrong. But all of us are really interested as to what exactly transpired and how come you ended up becoming the creator of the first supercomputer of our country.
Well, I think let me carry it through as a journey from the very beginning. I was born on the very eve of independence. It was that time I think the IITs were being conceived, the whole idea, and we must give really credit to our Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, first Prime Minister, who had this grand vision of that India's development must be carried out on the foundation of science and technology and good education. So I was born at that time. I never knew that one day will come that I will become one of the chairs of one of the IITs, like IIT Delhi. I did my PhD there. I became a distinguished alumni, and now I am the chairman of the Board of Governors. So this has been the journey. In 1971, Mrs. Gandhi particularly had this vision she was advised by Sarabhai. Dr. Sarabhai was the chairman of the Space Commission, and Dr. Bhabha had the vision that one day electronics is going to play a very important role in the development of India. This was not clear at all at that time. And then it was decided by Mrs. Gandhi, on the model of Atomic Energy Commission, on the model of the Space Commission, we should launch the Electronics Commission. And the first chairman was Vikram Sarabhai, followed by Professor M.G.K. Menon. I remember I completed my PhD, and then they were scouting for people with the core committee of the Electronics Commission, and I was chosen for that. That has been a turning point in my life, and I became part of the Electronics Commission, and there we decided how electronics should be planned.
So you were part of the core team at the initial stage itself.
I must say here at this moment that when we embarked on the journey of Electronics Commission, electronics was insignificant in the country, and also all the world war. It's not really significant area. And I had done a survey at that time that what is the electronics industry at that time in the country, it was barely 100 crores. I want to report, I want to say that today, it's amazing that today that journey was if you see from 72, 73 onwards, after 4 decades, it is how much? 10 lakh crores. There's a huge journey. I see the entire thing, how we planned, how we got it through, and how that whole flight has been.
So how did Param 8000 and Param 10,000 come about?
So in two contests, I must say that two major events occurred. Before that was I think Mrs. Gandhi, when she decided India must have a color broadcast and color television, which was not there. This task was given to me. That's how I got introduced to the whole area.
1982 ACR was when
this one, and India had the first broadcast. This one. Later on, I think that's how I got introduced to Mrs. Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi. And then when the challenge came, when the US denied to us the supercomputer which we required, which we asked from 85, it was denied to us, and we were struggling with it. And there was an accord that we should get a US supercomputer. And then Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, the young Prime Minister, was very interested in the really computing himself and electronics himself, said why Indian scientists cannot develop our own supercomputer indigenously. I was invited to that journey. It's things like the launching of, I proposed the first blueprint, how India can develop a supercomputer based on an entirely new architecture, which was not really at that time popular. So I proposed that Mr. Rajiv Gandhi asked me a question, can we develop it? I said, I have not seen a supercomputer because US is not allowing that access. I have seen a picture of supercomputer, but I can tell based on what Dr. Bhabha did or Dr. Vikram Sarabhai did, that we could definitely do. From inner confidence, I have confidence that our team can do it. So he said, how much time it would take? I said it will take barely 3 years, because not the supercomputer, because at that time you want to get a computer in the country was 3 years. So I said it could barely 3 years we can develop the entire technology, and how much cost it would be, how much it would be the budget for this project. I said it's the cost of one supercomputer which we are trying to do. He liked that whole idea, smiled, and the mission was approved. That's how I went to do the whole idea of supercomputers, and we had put the team together. We didn't have any experience at all, so I built I proposed the creation of an institution called Center for Development of Advanced Computing, CDAC. So I was the founder of that. This was done in the year 1988, and then barely 3 years time, barely 2 years time, we created the first prototype, and the third year we had the supercomputer, Param 8000, what you call. Param means the supreme, this is super, and we exhibited in Zurich, Europe first time in 1990 itself, and the world recognized at that time in benchmarking that India has developed a supercomputer. Later, the following year, we went to Washington to really one of the supercomputing conference and exhibition. We showed it there, and Washington Post declared that Angry India does it. So that's how I think world came to know.
The headlines were the Angry India does it. They have their own supercomputer now.
And that's how India developed its first supercomputer.
Definitely a proud moment for the country and specifically for you, because you did it in the promised timeline, just less than 3 years. But the country managed to have a supercomputer. I was also going through what you've done, and it's a huge long list. A bit of part is the books you have written. You've written a number of books, and most of them deal with the artificial intelligence or the use of artificial intelligence. And this is more or less related to the supercomputing as well. It's your core area, your specialization. So, what is the future of now? Because in '91 we had a supercomputer. Then you brought out a improved version later on, Param 10,000 as well. From there onwards till now, how do you see the journey moving? Because initial stages it was wonderful. 88, the 91, the 94. We did things immediately, one by one. We sort of posted our message that yes, we have arrived. But from there onwards, in the field of artificial intelligence, supercomputing, how do you see things moving on, and what's the future now?
Now, there are two areas you're talking about is really the high performance computer or supercomputers. Another is artificial intelligence. The supercomputing area, I say Param 8000 came in, as I said, 91 and 98 we have Param 10,000 was a giga scale. That is, the computers which can perform 1 billion mathematical operations per second. Now the supercomputing technology is advancing so fast that in a decade, I think the computing power increases by a factor of 1,000. The next challenge came that we must develop the supercomputers. So first was 1 billion. Next was 1 trillion, 198 was what we developed, and now we have 1 peta. That is, one can perform 10 to the power 15 mathematical operations per second. So there's the supercomputers which we have now in India. But the next challenge has come to that in next 10 years, because by 2000 or 2020 and 2022, we should have supercomputers which can perform 1 exa mathematical operation per second. That is 1 to the power 10 to the power 18. So mathematical operation, which is a huge thing, which I think the world is trying. The US is trying, China is trying. China is going very fast into these things, and also whole Europe together. And India is also trying to do that. I had an opportunity to prepare the first blueprint for that and submit it to our scientific advisory committee to cabinet and then to the prime minister.
So you're again back to the same situation. You were the one who developed the first supercomputer. Now that the entire world is looking for an hexa operational supercomputer, you're again the one who is given a.
I say that's the way the whole thing is. I think India must retain that leadership, and then we are on that path. And this project has been approved. That's for the 10 years now. So as far as the main budget, it will cost 11,000 crores. Over a period of 10 years. It's a huge budget, and we are on that path.
But for you, the entire thing has come full circle. So we'll take a short break here, and it has been an interesting journey as Professor Bhatkar narrated it to us. When we come back from the break, we would ask him about the relationship between science and youth as to how the education system can be made a little more interesting, because since Professor Bhatkar is very closely involved with the field of education as well. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Professor Bhatkar is still with us, an eminent computer scientist and a versatile personality. So you've been closely and very deeply involved with the field of education as well. You've been associated with several top-notch institutes which were set up in the due course of time, be it the IITs, the NIIT, and then the triple ITs. And I'm told recently you have a virtual university. You've just had a virtual university as well that's known as Multi-University. What's the first of all, what's the concept behind multi-university? What is it actually?
The concept of multiversity was like this because we call university, universe, and now science has new ideas. Perhaps that there are many verses, perhaps there are infinite verses. This idea also comes from ancient texts from the Vedas itself. So I named it multiversity. The whole idea is, I think the central idea there is to resurrect the ancient Gurukul system. When the Britishers came to India, I think what happened was they destroyed the ancient Gurukul system, which existed for thousands of years. Even today, it exists in the teaching of dance forms, in the music, in Ayurveda, in yoga, and all these Indian disciplines. But now today we don't have forests, and we go to gurus, and this one, then gurus are, so there's no place for them to stay. So how ICT can contribute? Information and communication technology can contribute to create the Gurukuls in the contemporary context, which can extend to the world. Because today we have the models.
So virtual Gurukuls.
Virtual Gurukuls are created, and they can address to the students, and they can have interactive sessions with the learning, with the shishas, which we could not have earlier.
I must say, very interesting concept this is.
So, and many people are showing a lot of interest, particularly because of the interactivity which we can have from using the ICT platform, or using the broadband technologies, or using the educational technologies which we are developing. So we have developed the education technologies, and which we want to now take it to the great gurus. Now, gurus need not be in the ancient field. Gurus can be, broadcasting. Good can be into today's contemporaries sciences like nanotechnology, science. It's one way learning from the masters. Learning from the masters as against the classroom learning. So this is what the multiversity concept is about.
You just spoke about the use of ICT, that's the information and communication technology at this particular level, at the university level, wherein the virtual Gurukul concept you have in the multi-university. That's talking about the higher education. But if you look at the subject of science, in fact, if I remember, I also in my childhood was a little afraid of the subject known as science or maths, and this is a feeling which many students still have a feeling. Is it because of the structure of the education system we have? Do you believe that more use of ICT in the education system at higher secondary level is going to ease up that pressure, is going to make the subject of science more interesting to the students so that they can come a little more forward?
Yeah, well, I really believe so, and that is another mission which I'm doing really, and which I started some time back. How ICT can be brought into our schools, school education, because we don't have great teachers. I think the good teachers did not come to education; they went to other fields. So how computers can themselves now take over that function? In fact, some time back, we had a big challenge that the challenge of literacy. I was involved in creating the policies for the IT parks, which you see. India has been now the IT country and leading in the IT field and software field. But the other side of the story is that we see IT park just below there, people don't know how to read and write. This was the case when I began. This one that 40 crores people, the world regards India as IT superpower. On the other side, 40 crore people don't know how to read and write. So how this can be done? How technology can be used? And
bridging the divide by the use of technology.
And that's how we started in a major way. So we started discussing with the governments, say the ICT mission in school education. ICT mission in education was launched by MHRD, and we initially did the experiments of that kind of thing. Today, I must report that by developing this technology today, India is emerging the largest computer literate nation of the world. We may have still illiteracy problems, because though we have gone to 80% literacy now, this one. So this movement began like this. And where computers can really contribute is, for example, we had to teach computers but there are no teachers to the school. So I said, if there are no teachers, then what do you do? Then they say, computer itself will become a teacher. Computer itself will become a teacher, and you are a teacher is a facilitator. Just make it on, and computer will start teaching. That's why the major program we launched today, which is now what is called MSCIT, which started at IITs Research Lab, and today we have 1 crore computer literate people without getting any government aid. In fact, we are contributing to the government treasury by launching this program. So this.
That's really wonderful. So that shows that the use of the ICT technology in higher secondary and secondary level education will will generate more interest in the students, not only for the subject of science but maybe other subjects as well, and will make a job a little easier for the teachers and make the traditional teaching method a little more interesting. Let me come back to the higher institutes, and you've been closely associated associated with most of them. You're still, right now you're the chairman of IIT Delhi. You're involved with, you've been involved with NITs, you've been involved with the creation of triple ITs. Do you believe that the motive or the aim with which these higher institutions were set up, that motive has been fulfilled to a certain extent? And do we need more institutes like this, or are these enough? The standard has been maintained, or has it gone down a little? That's what the observation sometimes comes in for specifically for IITs, and you're a chairman of Delhi, IIT Delhi as well, so that's the important thing.
I think it was a grand vision of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru when India was going hungry. We just had nothing, and he thought of creating IITs, and we created initially the 5 IITs in the whole process. IITs did. I think one of the greatest accomplishment of India was the creation of these institutes, which became world-class institutes. Today, it is somebody, Narayan Murthy, somebody, I can get my admission for my son in MIT, but not in the IIT. So this is the standard which we created. The world recognizes for the undergraduate studies. Of course, then it was decided that, of course, what happened was that India was now really, the idea was that India will build now, he was building manufacturing, he was building the steel plants, power plants, steel plants, all this kind of thing, cement plants. But most of our IIT students went out. There was a lot of brain drain issue which came about. The issue which came about, but there is the other side of the story. It's one. Then we have the National Institute of Technologies, which were created. There are 38 of them now. And then recently the idea came that IIT we should replicate not 5 IITs are not enough for the country. We should have more IITs. And Dr. Manmohan Singh took the decision that we'll have 16 IITs, more IITs, which are being set up in this. Of course, there is a challenge of faculty. There is other things people talk about.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Increasing the number from 5 to 16. Do you think some people believe that some experts say and some critics say that by increasing the number from 5 to 16, we are going to dilute the quality of the institution known as IIT, because the number of faculty required, the number of infrastructure required, and is that so? Do you believe?
Oh yes, sir. There will be definitely this challenge, the challenge of creating the infrastructure in such a short time. The challenge of creating, I think, getting the faculty of that kind, which you got initially. Those challenges exist, but there is no doubt that we require institutes of IIT, more number of institutes of IIT, to address such a huge population like this and to compete with the world. If you see how many institutes we have got in US, I think how many institutes we have got in the other countries, and what China is doing for that. So we do require a large number of institutions, no doubt, but also I think the issue of quality has to be addressed. Now the issue is, today we are talking about where do we position IITs in the world rankings. And I'm pleased to report that this question comes again and again, that in the technology field, in specific departments, we are now, I think, one of the top 50. Top 50, the first 5 IITs are really contributing, coming in the top 50 institutes of the world, in the ranking of the thousands of such institutes in the world. So I think we are addressing that issue. There is issue of also the grading, that because we don't have foreign faculty, and then there is no grade for that, and there are no foreign students, because our system does not allow foreign students on the campus unless they compete in the IITs, and nobody can pass that test. Our experience was that not many international people can pass that test. So we are coming there. I think we are very soon. I think next few years I will see that top institutes, IITs, will become one of the top institutes, top 10. Top 20 institutes of the world. So
more institutes are required, but the quality will have to be maintained. That's what your point is. Yes. We'll take a short break here, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Professor Bhatkar, and will now ask him about the more coveted field of research and development as far as the field of science is concerned. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Professor Bhatkar is still with us, an eminent scientist. Sir, we've spoken about education, the role of the higher institutions, the role of ICT, that's information and communication technology, in the secondary education, higher secondary education, and you specifically pointed out in the previous segment that we need more institutes, but then we need to maintain the quality as well. Let's now talk about research and development, the R&D sector when it comes to the field of science. There are many views in this, and one important and more prominent view, and that too from the scientific community as well. It's not only others, but also the scientific community, your own community. There have been views which have come in even from people who are senior eminent scientists who just recently won Bharat Ratna as well. The view is that not enough is being done to further research and development. Is that true?
I agree with Professor CRR's views. that I think what his view has been that we have not given enough attention to research, and we have not understood the importance of research to the extent we must today. But we must declare that way back in '56, we formed the science policy, India's science policy, and we started creating institutes for research, science and technology. We can see the atomic energy itself is based on our own research. The space program is based on the space research program done indigenously, isn't it? So, and also the CSR labs, variety of fields. The CSR labs today we have 38 laboratories. They were created. I would say that in the condition India was. In the condition, the priorities were there. There were severe priorities of providing food to the whole masses. Today we are able to provide, food. I don't remember the days when we were going hungry and we are importing PL-480 foods from US. Today we are self-sufficient in the food, and because of the agriculture research, which happened in the Green Revolution 1, now we are going to another path.
But if you look at, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if you look at the bridge or the gap, if you do a little comparison. Way back in 90s when you developed the supercomputer, you did it in 3 years. I'm just looking at the time period which is happening now. But then if you look at the space mission, ISRO has done a lot of nice things. Mission to Mars, mission to Moon. GSLV just recently launched. That also is a very indigenously from the indigenously made platform and indigenously made rocket. But there are several other areas as well. It took so many years to develop light combat aircraft. It took so many years to develop an indigenous tank. It took so many years to develop another technologies, and they are still not perfect. The scientific community still says that we will need more tests. So why this disparity? Somewhere we do it perfectly right within that much time, but somewhere we lag too far behind.
I appreciate that criticism. This has been the wide criticism of that from our own scientists, not from outside. This one, and also I think in the meantime, China has taken a huge leap over India. They started at the same time. Perhaps they were behind us. Yes. That's how they have done it. I take that criticism. One thing I also must recognize that when we compare and when we say assess our successes, our budget for R&D has been very small compared to most of the countries of what China is contributing to budget. We have now less than 0.8% of the GDP. We are investing in the R&D. Many countries are investing as much as 3, 4, 5% of the GDP. China itself is close to 2, and they are going to 3% of the GDP. So when the comparisons are made, this is one thing. Second thing is that I must say that the major hindrance to this whole process has been the way we are governing the R&D. The administration and governance, the bureaucratic hurdles, which we have raised this issue, that today in the government system, this is to work in the whole government systems with all the things that many times the bureaucrats don't understand how the R&D really works. Today the technology changes very fast by second, and then our decisions take several years to really take that for the recruitments and for many things, I must say that. So two major reasons for this, not because of the vision, etc. Two reasons. One is our bureaucratic system of the R&D governance, and second is the limitation of the funds, which we have compared to other countries. But I think the kind of budget we got, and we say for example the space program, the Mangal mission, Mangalyaan, or the thing which we have done, it is the lowest cost mission ever we can achieve what we are trying to achieve. This one. So this is one. I think the success, and another thing is really the delays which are occurring.
But aren't these delays and not too much emphasis on R&D is also the main reason behind the brain drain? We've lost so many young scientists to our competitors in the developing world and the developed world as well.
It's true. Like, the
brain drain.
The brain drain is, I think, some of the most brilliant people which went to get Nobel Prize. When they went outside. Arvind Khurana's example is there, and there are many examples. So, Arvind Khurana's example is there. There are many examples of that kind. They are frustrated with the current the way the bureaucratic systems which we run, and they went outside. They had exceedingly well. I think when the systems Indian express their genes really well outside India, which is a sad commentary on what we have not been able to provide that in our democratic or government system. So this needs to be corrected. I agree fully with you.
So would you say 66 years down the line after independence, it's high time that we need to go ahead and realize this, that the R&D sector is one where we need to pump money, we need to put the systems in place.
I think one thing must be really realized today. The nation's wealth will be created and is recognized. Innovation has to be the central agenda. The science, not only science and technology, innovation, creation. Because the largest wealth has been created through innovation. If you look at Apple, the Apple's today's turnover or the valuations are more than, valuation is the turnovers, more than several countries put together. Just one innovation which is created, I think the Apple computer, and now is the Macs, and now the iPads and iPhones and all that kind of thing. So you can create, you can change the thing, just through one innovation can change the whole thing like this, and Microsoft is another example. There are many examples in the biotechnology area, so on. So innovation has to be made a central theme of a development. And that's why Prime Minister declared recently, when there was 100 years of Indian Science Congress, that we must design the science, technology and innovation policy. Must be really deliverable and create innovations which can create wealth for the nation. And that's what we are trying to do. I think we are accelerating the whole process.
And let's hope that the efforts put in by senior and eminent people like you do bring us those fruits which we've seen in the past as well. So this was Professor Vijay Bhatkar, an eminent scientist, Padam Shri awardee, a man who has donned many hats and who is still raring to go ahead and ensure that India achieves a lot more milestones, passes a lot more milestones in the field of science and technology. We'll come back next week with a different personality on a different topic. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.